Hey everyone, thanks for joining us on another episode of CRAAPy Conversations. I am here with my esteemed colleague, Ann Hallyburton, and we are going to be talking about the letter A for accuracy. So Ann, what kind of thoughts do you have on accuracy when we're talking about sources of information?
Accuracy, you can think about it more in a term of, say, is the information reliable? Is it truthful? Can it be called correct? Now, the different ways that you can define accuracy also go along with your need for the information. Like if you're looking for information for your personal health, you want to find reliable information. The wording for accuracy can also be called correct in that, let's say you're writing a paper. You want to make sure you're including the correct information in there, meaning about the same thing, just different ways of looking at the meaning of accurate information.
Yeah, and that's kind of always the thing I always found kind of tricky about this one, because like you think accurate, you think correct. So how would you judge if something seems correct? I mean, unless you can I know you can check, like if you already know about something, you can use your own prior knowledge, but outside of that, like how would you go about that?
Well, and I always keep in mind, nothing is 100% correct or perfect. Certainly as information is concerned. First, I look at where the information comes from. Now, the where can be, oh, did I get this out of an encyclopedia? Did I get it from the website of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention? Where is also, let's say, who wrote it, who created it, and who funded the research, the creation of it. What is the background of the author or authors, as far as, do they have a steady background in the area that they're writing about? Do they have considerable knowledge in the area? Also, have they been involved in any big controversies that might just pop up in a quick Google search? Those factors don't necessarily mean that the information would be bad or wrong, but that it's just another thing to keep in mind as I'm looking over the broader scope of the information. And with the accuracy part, and I'll probably bring this up multiple more times in our conversation today, but it's important to find information that's backed up in multiple sources. As far as, even if it's a research study, if you're looking across multiple research studies, do several of the ones that look like they've been conducted pretty well. Are they presenting similar findings?
So making sure that you're seeing the at least similar results and similar information repeated over and over again in other what seems like reliable information sources.
Yeah, almost some agreement, almost, and especially if those findings are found in totally separate areas, in different places that these researchers didn't really know those researchers, and yet they're finding similar things. And that can also be quite good for, let's say you're writing a history paper and you're finding primary sources on an issue. If you're finding things that are being reported from multiple witnesses that seem similar, even though everyone's viewpoint, especially as things are going on, will be individual, but
so finding this consensus amount from different voices.
Consensus is a good word. And then I also like to make sure, I'm talking about the whole consensus thing, and the consensus really being backed up by something called evidence. Evidence can be anything from data that gets collected. Evidence is an often used word, but it basically just means research information about something, or findings, I guess would be a better word. And can also mean, let's say you're writing a research paper and you make an assertion in the research paper. It's very important to back up your assertion with evidence. And in the case of a research paper, that evidence is often you're citing from other people's work, like other scholars' work.
So adding to the scholarly conversation.
Yes, the scholarly conversation, yes. Just make sure that you are looking and carefully reading through all the materials that you cite and that you make the assertion, this is backing up what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes folks can take little segments out of a piece of research or little parts of a quote and twist it around to make it back up something that it possibly wasn't meant to be.
So if
But
you can take the time to actually look at what they're citing.
yes, if someone is making the claim, Barney, the purple dinosaur, created the internet. I
might be a little skeptical if you said Barney created.
Yeah, just because I'm not sure Barney had that kind of technical know-how.
He had a lot of magic, though.
He did. But Barney, if I'm reading that Barney created the internet, the next line better be something that would go along with a very nice purple dinosaur joke. So verifying the information across multiple sources, and also just kind of, is it passing, does it seem like it would be all right? And that does not
It's almost like a sniff test, kind of.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean necessarily that if it doesn't seem right to me, I have to always keep in mind, I'm not an expert in everything. I'm barely an expert in anything. So it's really important to keep reading further. It's also vital to not just stay stuck in my own information bubble,
mm-hmm.
as far as finding sources that agree with whatever point I'm trying to make.
So kind of go, like, make sure you're challenging your confirmation biases. And
yes, challenge what I am asserting. That also, it helps not just in being able to argue better my case, but also it can better inform my own understanding, and it may help my understanding evolve, change in a way that's much better for me and much better for the paper I'm writing or whatever project I'm working on in the end. Now, I guess another part with that whole, as you mentioned, sniff test, be language or tone that the authors or video creators, or however, again, I'm consuming or you're consuming the information. What tone are they putting forward? Like, is it very emotional? Now, there are a lot of issues where emotion is quite natural, and it's difficult to expect all writing to be emotionless.
Well, yeah, there's people writing these things, not robots.
Well, yeah, and especially I keep thinking, because I work so often with the healthcare folks and with social work folks, that a lot of issues they deal with day in and day out, even in their research, can come out that emotional type things, especially if they're doing surveys and using quotes from folks that are being surveyed. Emotion is going to come out. The emotion part that one would need to be, I think, more concerned over is someone coming across that they have and I hate to use another idiom, but an axe to grind. They are approaching a piece of information, or they're giving an opinion that seems to be, and not backing it up with evidence, or backing it up with evidence that's only from a very narrow range of sources that totally support whatever they are trying to.
So when they're clearly not looking at something holistically, they're just specifically, you can tell that they have one objective to prove one point, and they're ignoring all the other evidence that should probably be pretty easy for them to find. It's not like something that would be hidden out there.
Yeah, and also just for a thing to keep in mind, if somebody is writing that something is proven, I always get really nervous, because very few things are proven, not even me saying anything's proven. And I guess And those are the important parts in my brain for accuracy.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Anne.
Many
So
other things, but
I know it's a big topic and there's a lot to cover, but I guess, give yourself a sniff test, make sure that nothing stands out to you.
you
smell
told me to
your
give myself
armpits.
a sniff test.
I know it's hot out today. So yeah, check, make sure that nothing stands out or kind of like comes to mind as something that seems a little off. Check the sources, see who's creating the information, make sure, see if there's any kind of biases in play, and see if they're like at least trying to be objective and using a range of sources from different places and not just trying to prove a point. Would you say that's a good summary?
Yeah, that sounds pretty all right.
All right. And I'll make sure that I'm not 100% on that. This is pretty good. I think that would be suggested.
The evidence is suggesting that you may be accurate in those statements, Josh.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, thank you for joining us today, Anne. Tune in next time where we cover P in the CRAAPy test, and we're going to talk about purpose. So thanks, everyone. Thank you, Anne. Take care.